All right, welcome to the MaxKids Webinar here. Dr. Chad with you, excited about bringing you a little information here from the principals that our kids are going to be going back to school. And you know what? We want them to be healthier and happier this year than they were last year. And so we're going to touch on health, and we're going to be talking about backpack safety and literally maximizing our kids' health potential. I think we can all agree that it's one of the biggest parts of our lives is really trying to focus on not just surviving, but thriving. And when it comes to our kids, going to great lengths to make sure that that happens. And so as we go through, if you have questions, then you can just text your questions to that number, and then I can answer those as we go along. And then for those of you who want the resources that are going to be shown throughout the webinar, then you can simply text MaxKids to the 657-4777 to receive the information and the resources and your 10% off the supplements. And so as we get started, one of the biggest things that I think is so important is that we understand that 25% of all kids are out there in the United States have at least one chronic health condition, and that when we look at and go out further with that, we have to be aware that, looking at the nation as a whole, that 62% of the bankruptcies that happen are due to major medical bills. And so how can we change that for our children? It really is about making sure that prevention is a part of every step. And we're going to do that through empowering folks with our mission to everyone to live a life healthy and naturally. And that with this chronic diseases, there are 25% of the children in America are suffering from, and 5% have actually multiple chronic health conditions. And, what can we do? Well, first of all, we need to be aware of what those are. And asthma, obesity, diabetes, depression, ADD or ADHD, and malnutrition, and I really think that the more time, the more I study the topic, the more obesity and malnutrition almost could be synonymous. They're really often very, very related, even though a lot of people would think of them as being opposite. And so it's prevention through every stage. And the fact is that the first stage begins with the fact that our health of our children starts in the womb. And so one of the biggest things that we really need to start to deal with is that our mothers today really want to focus on the fact that, and you'll see that I'm looking off to the side with our new technology here, putting things in. I want to make sure that I'm using things properly. So as we go through, one of the biggest things is that we need to start either preconception, getting healthier, building our bodies up, building the mothers up, and then really trying to make sure that stays focused throughout pregnancy. And I think that one of the biggest things that gets forgotten until the third trimester is that chiropractic is very important for our children from the moment of conception, and that the uterus is the house that child will grow in, and it's suspended inside of the pelvis and the abdomen as it grows, and it's suspended in there with ligaments and with fascia that are suspending the uterus in the pelvis and holding it like a trampoline. I was just putting a trampoline together earlier today for my kids, and the spring tension and looking at the shape changes of the frame and how that frame of that trampoline changed the shape of the tramp on the inside that we were trying to attach these springs to. And so on the inside of the pelvis is the ligament or the uterus, and that's going to be the house that baby grows in. In third trimester, everybody realizes it when the ladies often are having breech babies, and they're coming to chiropractors for Webster's uterine constraint technique, and relieving that constraint allows the baby to flip. And even in my own practice, I've seen a 6 out of 7 that technique literally worked for in allowing to reduce the subluxation in the pelvis, to allow that baby to turn. And so when we think about this, but it's also the nervous system's control of the blood flow to the uterus, which is then creating the placenta, which is then feeding through the umbilical cord to the fetus. And I mean, that is an amazing thing. And so literally having a checkup with all pregnant moms is what I suggest, for sure. And making sure that ladies understand that they can get that. You can look at the phone number there and call the schedule, or text the office so that they can get you scheduled there for those checkups. The next thing that would be the most important thing after the nervous system is, the nutrition. Man, and it's just as important about what we're putting into the mother as it is about what we're not putting in. And so when we think about nutrition, it's about the fact that, yes, we know that we need the iron and the folate and the zinc and the iodine. And yes, on that slide, I wrote zinc instead of zinc. Vitamin D, vitamin C, calcium, fiber. These are some of the things we need, but what we really want to also be avoiding is mercury content from things like mackerel and a lot of tuna and swordfish and things like that. Also bacterial infections that can happen, listeria contamination from soft cheeses and raw cookie dough. As good as it sounds as a snack, shouldn't be doing that. And again, it's about avoiding the things that really can cause a lot of the difference between healthy nutrition during pregnancy and not healthy is that we want to saturate the mother with all of the building blocks of life. And so really focusing on a whole food, plant-based diet that minds the fact that, especially if you've had any blood sugar issues in the past, that you're minimizing sugar and processed foods so that your body not only doesn't have to weed through that and roughage out the nutrients from it, it's about having this a lack of contamination, also lack of pressure on the pancreas, so that if you have had any blood sugar issues in the past, as you move through pregnancy and headed into that 3rd trimester and the biggest demand on your body is there, that you don't go into gestational diabetes. And if you do, then you can use this advanced plan in the Align Your Health book that is really at work for us. In my life, we recently we have a 6-week-old. And so we're going through that 3rd trimester. And sure enough, at age 45, even though she's a great vegetarian, very healthy, active, we were riding bikes up until 2 weeks prior to birth, that she ended up with gestational diabetes with this extra demand. It was the first pregnancy that happened in. And so she managed it successfully with the advanced plan in the Align Your Health book, Appendix B. And then, again, and that's a very clean, anti-inflammatory diet. And then the next thing is mind your gaps, bridge your gaps, make sure that you're taking a prenatal. We crunch the numbers on what's in our daily essentials prenatal with what was the prescription that was given to her for a prenatal vitamin, and literally this crushed it. It was amazing. At minimum of 200% of what was in that prescription prenatal was in this, sometimes 400%. And some people say, well, is that good? Absolutely. You're saturating the body with, and that percentage is based on an average. What if you're more deficient in that? Also, the only things that could be done really in excess are A, D, E, and K, your fat-soluble vitamins, and they're in the proper ratios inside of the prenatal daily essentials pack. So to get information on how to minimize your toxicity, one of the big things is to follow this instructions here so that the resources will be emailed to you along with all of my notes and things. But it's ewg.org. That website is a great way to tune into and make sure that you are avoiding, not only getting things through your supplements and your nutrition, it's about avoiding things that you don't want, like PCBs, plastics, things like bisphenol A or BPA, flame retardants, and things like that. So you can check all your products in that ewg.org site and make sure that they're safe and non-toxic. Newborns, when we get to milestones, one of the biggest things in MaxKids is that milestones are there for a reason. They're developmental processes that show us that the baby has reached that milestone. And it's not the most common one, is you can read them, but the most common one is that people fly through. Oh, my baby was sitting up and it was just hanging out, and it grabbed a hold of the couch one day and it stood up and walked, and it's never slowed down. And although we're proud of the development of our children, but we should not miss and skip milestones. Let me show you how devastating skipping going from sitting to standing can be. Just skipping that milestone misses the cross-crawl body activity that creates a bigger corpus callosum, which bridges the hemispheres of the brain. If the hemispheres of the brain aren't bridged with as big of a conduit due to the smaller corpus callosum, then you're going to have lowered reading, language, and speech in that child, because Wernicke's speech area and language processing are on opposite sides of the brain. And so for them to coordinate and control, they have to be able to move back and forth and send those signals and coordinate the perception of language and then the actual use of language. And so simply skipping the crawling stage can affect reading and language skills and speech. And also, that is the development. As a chiropractor, I'm super concerned with the curves of the body, because having that spinal cord at its greatest amount of peace, the connection between the brain and the body, if that child skips the crawling phase, then they don't develop their secondary curves of the cervical curve and the lumbar curve, which will also predispose them to have future degeneration, also more prone to idiopathic scoliosis. And so, again, super important that we go through those milestones. Anytime you see somebody, maybe, or a child that skipped it, maybe they're having some of these things, you're having a child with speech, language processing or problems, go back to crawling, get back to cross-crawl body activity. It's an easy thing to do as a parent. You can join in with them. Breastfeeding, come on, let's be really honest with the fact that never should humans go so far as to think that we will be able to create a food which is superior to the quality of breast milk. God created us, created our bodies to be able to produce the food for the children that we are going to have, specifically for that child at that time, based on what the mother is encountering. And it's so amazing. Like I said, I have a 6-week-old. When Eliana cries, literally, Megan will say, whoa, we gotta, if we're on a trip or something, we're driving, she said, we better get there because the milk's letting down and I've got to feed this child. I can feel that demand. And so literally, based on what that child needs, the communication hormonally, neurologically between the mother and the baby, breastfeeding is the supply of that demand. And so when we start transitioning, maybe it's at 6 months for some, maybe it's more closer to a year towards food. Again, one of the big concepts is skipping certain things. So when we look at the fact that when we look, EWG took a look at the typical processed baby foods. Not only are they higher in sugar, and one of the things you can look for is in a serving, there shouldn't be more than 13 grams of sugar inside of that, or carbohydrates inside of that baby food, especially in the beginning. And so when we look at that, that amount of minimizing sugar, minimizing the fact that a lot of the processed things will have contaminants like mercury and lead. As a matter of fact, due to, when we look at this, remember, getting down to, where'd it go? I want to get the amount right here. You guys sniff me, it was there. It's 75% of those things tested had contaminants of either mercury, lead, or some sort of toxins in those processed first baby foods. So how do you get around it? I think avocado is one of the best first foods, very low allergenic. Very high in good fats for brain development. The brains are accelerating in growth faster than any other body part so that they can control those body parts. So making sure that your child has good, healthy fats and minimizes, again, trans fats that are coming in. So next topic is screen time. Oh, man, 18 months. It's way too early to be introducing screen time. And this is a tough one. I'm actually dealing with it, just to be perfectly transparent right now, in the fact that for my kids to be, I'm down here in the basement, for them to be quiet, the 3-year-old's going to have 45 minutes or so of screen time. So we're going to have to cut it out somewhere else. And that's just, we all have these things, but yet making sure it's not before 18 months, due to the fact it delays language and also their reading skills, their attention skills. And so 92% of kids, though, have used a mobile device before ages 18 months, and it affects reading, memory, sleep, attention, and language development. So big thing there. When we go to looking at starting chiropractic care young, one of the biggest things, Journal of Pediatrics, significant utilization of chiropractic visits. A lot of people wonder, well, how early can you start? Earliest one of my kids was about 7 minutes. The rest, we had some birth things going on that we needed to tend to before we could start checking them. And so light and easy. That there's a survey done, looked at the fact that estimated 30 million pediatric visits annually in the United States. And when we look at the fact that birth trauma can cause injury to children, excessive rotation during the birth process, especially, C-sections, when they cut the mother open, head's already down in the birth canal. So they've got to reach down and in and bring that child's head back out and around with those shoulders. And so pulling, twisting from a regular vaginal birth, literally all of this can be a lot of pressure on the neck. And as a matter of fact, what are some of the warning signs? Arm and hand bent towards the body, muscle stiffness, weak movements, writhing, lack of some of the reflexes, head tilts, and looking for these things. And I'll cover those in the, let's put those up right there. But when we look at chiropractic care from the initial, they looked and did studies and showed that approximately 90% of children were not in autonomic nervous system balance after birth, meaning that literally their nervous system all the way up through 3 years, that if they hadn't been checked, then these children their nervous systems were on the fritz. Their autonomic, meaning the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous systems, weren't functioning properly. And one of the biggest things, man, I can tell you, I witnessed this with on vacation with my great friend Dan Moss and his wonderful family. And man, we were out at the beach and the kids were having a rambunctiously great time. And this was back when Jonah was 1 year old. And he literally walked in that morning and kind of from the get-go, and woke up, went out, played really hard. And we came in from breakfast, gosh, he just wasn't himself. And he was really just high-strung and combative and just really acting out, kind of freaking out. Nothing that we could do was going to help, man. I mean, it was not happening. And so we processed our way through lunch, and then it just didn't help. We thought he could have been hungry, right? And then it didn't help. So then what's the next thing? Hey, why don't we all have a adjusting party here, and we'll check the kids. And sure enough, adjusted the top bone in his neck, the atlas, one adjustment, and I mean, the kid rolls off the table, stands up, and just almost shook his head, like, just took a big deep breath in, and literally just, "Mommy, can I please have," and just was like, "What? Oh my gosh." I just witnessed the child before and after, and the amazing behavior differences. And the kids can't explain how and why they're feeling these things. And so immune system boost and that control and coordination, you know, our autonomic nervous system's directly innervated into things like the thymus and the liver. And so this is playing a big role in the immune system, which is a huge topic today. We looked... Looking next topic is that toddlers and looking at their milestones. And again, this is that going from crawling to can hold themselves up, can do some steps, can speak in phrases, can possibly do some walking, and, you know, as in, you know, like it says, the toddlers, but yet it's really about the fact that we want to go slow into these transitions. I'd rather someone allow their children to have a little extra time than I would trying to hurry up and get a child through that process. Picky eaters, man, we all have at least one, it seems like, right? And the fact is like you can see, at least 11 tries before most kids will accept a new food. You know, 35% of parents will rank their kids as a picky eater. You know, one of the biggest things that we like to do is do the Sneaky Chef. And that's a great site. Check out Sneaky Chef. Hide supplements and veggies and smoothies. We do some of our things like vitamin C. We'll break those open and whip it up in yogurt. And so yogurt's a great place to hide stuff when you're mixing in fresh berries for those picky eaters. And so Sneaky Chef, go there. Look up some of their recipes. But I love smoothies, yogurts, soups that are going to be blended really thin. You can hide a lot of vegetables in that way. And some of the ones that are really easy are squash and zucchini. Those are easy and typically are pretty passive, and they don't really taste them. And so when we go through, really blending those up really well really hides those well. So align your expectations with the fact that it's going to be hard. I think so many of us just expect the kids to like what we like. And the fact is that if we look back at our taste buds when we were a kid, and that how much we are different and how long it took us to get there, you know, it's a big deal. And so we shouldn't over expect our kids to just automatically like these things, knowing that, hey, on average 11 tries before someone or a child likes a new food. Toxic toys is a huge one. Nowadays we think of it's just BPA, it's just these plastics, but the fact is formaldehydes and lead and PVC and all of these flame retardants and a lot of things is a great place to really look for ways to lower that the thresholds that are coming into your children. And so choose solid wood toys made in the United States or in Canada, also European Union. Plastic toys, they really need to be labeled as BPA free. Use toys made with organic fabrics, and whatever you do, don't leave those plastic toys out in the sun. That's a hard one for us, you know, to not leave the dart guns and this stuff with the older boys out in the yard day after day. But it's a real big way of softening up those plastics, and they hold those plastics, and then they're absorbing those through the skin, just like you do from the plastic from the receipts that you get at like the grocery stores and stuff. And if you've ever left one of those on your dashboard, you can see those things. Literally, the ink just evaporates. And let's see here, we've got a question coming in. All right, we are, yep. I'll get to that in just a minute, as a matter of fact. So when we look at preschoolers, milestones, start, you know, definitely talking about colors and starting with numbers, really pumped. Macklin's getting his process up to 10, being able to talk and count those things out. And it's just about having fun with it and at this point. And really, I think that most of the learning and these milestones should be activated as play. And that you're starting to see your kids grammatically get a little more correct and speak in their phrases. Again, it's back to minimizing screen time. Oh my gosh, now with this whole everything's gone to webinars and we're spending more time. We are being indoctrinated into this, that everything, social distancing, that kids are now watching about 32 hours of TV. Can you believe that? It's like a full-time job, right? Or I wonder if they're going to start getting a stipend or whatever their subsidy to watch TV instead of going to school. And so I know it's a technology-driven world, but the blue light emitted from those screens really impairs sleep. And so a kid having trouble sleeping, they're not staying asleep, then maybe we need to cut that screen time a little earlier in the evening so that, and that answers that question, thank you very much, that screen time, minimizing it to, I'm honest here. I mean, we cut ours to 2 hours in a day, and I'd like to get down to an hour, but we're just not there yet. And so when this increased screen time, one of the biggest things that it limits is physical activity, which calories in, calories out is one way of looking at it. But the fact is that if the child is so inundated with all this screen time, it can really impair their learning, in the fact that it impairs dopamine production. They keep getting these surges from the screen time, and then they get addicted to that dopamine. It's not the screen that they want, it's the dopamine. And so their brains need that much stimulation to be able to feel happy and fulfilled and all these things. And so they lose their love, which it should be a love for play and being outside. And so if you're starting to see anything like that, you want your child to sleep better, cut screen time down totally, minimize it, especially in the evenings. With outdoor play, let's take a look at this. Not only do they need the vitamin D that comes from outdoor play and regular daily exercise and the calories in, calories out, but when we get into this, one of the biggest things that around bedtime I hear from parents is that, what time do your kids go to school or go to sleep? And then how does that happen, and how much does it take, and how long does it take to get your kids to bed? Well, it's different with each of them. And the fact is that it's about, my older son, Jonah, he likes to hear a story, a middle son now. And then Macklin, he likes to hear stories, but more read a book. And then you get Waylon, who is just be quiet and let me fall asleep. And so, again, maximize that capability through getting to cutting that screen time. We get into these school-age kids and really increasing their independence and their desire. This is one of the things that really captivates me is the increased desire to be accepted by their peers. Yikes. Man, academic pressure and homework. And we run into that. It's a huge deal. And I think now with phones and social media and things like that, it's even worse that these children, they're comparing themselves to other kids at all times, putting together our new trampoline outside. One of my boys was, I think this is the, best trampoline and, all this stuff. My son, it is a trampoline. It's not to be compared to with your buddies. It's just a toy, and maybe it is smaller or bigger than somebody else's, and that means you have either less people in it or more people in it, and hopefully it's fun either way. And so it's one of those things that, again, I still haven't allowed any of my kids to have their own phone, and Waylon's is 12. So we're minimizing that amount of secret screen time, and one of the ways we deal with it is there is a phone, and it's there for them to take when they're out riding their bike or they're going to go to their friend's house so that we can have communication. But when it comes back, it goes back into the drawer to where they can access it. They know where it is. And also it cuts down on the fact that I don't have to have a phone for Waylon and Jonah and Macklin, because he's 3, right? A lot of people have their 3-year-olds getting phones. Yeah, really. And then, you know, Eliana, of course, is only 6 weeks old, so she doesn't need one yet, right? Hopefully. One of the biggest things that we start seeing, I want to talk about backpack safety here. Oh my goodness. This child, you know, when I remember out there the video, go to YouTube, just go to Chad McDill, backpack safety. It's out there on YouTube. Great video with me and my kids putting the backpacks on them. And I remember that blue backpack that's in that video was recorded. I did that when Jonah was going to school for the first time. And I remember putting that backpack on him and sizing it up, making sure everything was great. And literally, I knew that when I was putting this backpack on this child, he was going to be wearing one of these for the next 12 to 16 years. I mean, how important is that to how they're going to carry it? The fact that it should be both straps, they should be padded, and hopefully it has a waist strap. How about the fact that that they shouldn't be carrying more than 15% of their body weight? So let's say that they weigh 50 pounds, then they shouldn't be carrying any more than like 7.5 pounds in that backpack. Let's say, you know, that they, and you can just extrapolate that. You know, some people, the range is 10 to 20. I go in the middle. I want to go low and be safe. Better be safe than sorry in this. Than the fact that improperly loaded, worn, and carried backpacks are causes of neck strain, forward head posture, which causes neurological problems for a child. And the fact that, and we look at this, approximately 75% of kids are not carrying, loading, and have never been instructed on how to carry their backpacks properly. Yet we know that the longer a child wears a backpack, the further the deformity in the spine and the more that they develop the pattern that could impact them for the rest of their lives. So again, YouTube, backpack safety, go to Chad McDill backpack safety video. And if you text questions there, but you can also, let's hit that right there. The resources with the link and everything can be emailed to you, and then you can go straight to it from the emailed resources. Right there's a picture of a lot of the problem. You know, when we think about the fact that I said right in the beginning that we look at 90% of the diseases that our kids are going to face are lifestyle related and preventable. And the fact that 62% of bankruptcies in America are due to major medical bills. So people say it's too expensive to raise kids and do everything and try to eat organic and eat healthy and exercise. It's too expensive to try to stay healthy. No, it's too expensive not to. The fact that if you don't, and you don't teach your children how, then they could literally be filing bankruptcy, spending everything that they have in their later years, because the fact is, you know, 1 in 5 children are considered to be obese, but over 35% are considered to be overweight. And then 75% of children who are overweight as a child will be an overweight adult. That means that they carry that throughout their lifetime. And that extra demand on the cardiovascular system, the digestive system, the hormonal system, the pancreas, predisposes them to diabetes, cancer, heart disease, and I mean, right there. What about lowered immune system? So many people, that is a big deal right now. And this is from Harvard. I wanted to look at this. The consequences of childhood and adolescent obesity include early puberty, early menarche in children and girls, type 2 diabetes, and increased incidence of metabolic syndrome. These changes are associated with the cardiovascular disease as well as several cancers in adults, likely through insulin resistance and the production of inflammatory cytokines, although concerns have arisen regarding environmental exposures and toxicity that is affecting their prevalence to childhood obesity. Currently, the reviewed data states that the most important factors underlying obesity epidemic in America is the current opportunities for energy intake coupled with the limited energy expenditure. Long, wordy way of saying too much in, too little out, pour in, and then they aren't burning it off. And there's something that, you know, if we look at how much the brain is growing during this period of time, how about the fact that consumption of trans fats, and then the brain is 90% fat. And so if the child is taking in bad fats, they're creating a bad brain. And then they're creating bad habits that will follow them throughout their life. So what's for lunch? Here's a big topic. The fact is, you know, we're going back to school, and thank God, you know, I know Dade County, one of my sons is in Dade County in school, and they're going back in a very intelligent way with, you know, the masks are not required, and they're doing separation, and we're also allowing them to take their lunch. So thank goodness we're not strapping these children with guaranteed processed packaged foods. You know, we look at this with the current obesity epidemic and the current toxicity epidemic with all the fact that 10,000 food additives and preservatives are used in the processing and packaging of our foods, and kids get enough processed and packaged, and the fact that so many school systems are going to go to this. It's prepackaged process. It's gonna be come out from these boxes, and we're just gonna put it on there to minimize possible exposure. Has a very profound long-term effect, and if we reduce the quality of nutrition, we reduce their immune systems. And so we provide them less vitamins, minerals, and cofactors and things to process and have a healthy immune system. Then, in fact, the actual cure that people are trying to use through packaged food and sanitation is going to contaminate the child and lower their immune system, and therefore be more of a threat than it is a salvation. And so we look at this. What do you want to avoid? Avoiding processed chips, packages, and desserts, and sodas, and sugary drinks. You know, as Wayne, my buddy, said, he said, yeah, man, very important to a point, and but don't do it so well that your kid's willing to trade his whole lunch for a cupcake. Wayne's a principal in Alabama, and he said he's seen the extreme on both ends, where literally a whole lunch for a cookie. So we want to make sure and make it tasty and healthy. So we're looking at making our own applesauces, adding in yogurt, give the kids good like hummus and different flavored hummuses and things, making sure that the peanut butter is natural and organic, and that it's put onto things like celery and apples and things like that, instead of whatever, crackers and Lunchables and these processed deli meats. Look at berries and apple slices, pickles, coconut wraps. This is another reason I love Costco. I like going there and shopping because I can buy this stuff in bulk in these larger containers. And then it's not only about what we're eating, we're packing our kids' lunches. We're putting in these stainless steel lunch containers. I really like, there's lots of different container systems out there that looking at putting the warm stuff, especially things you want to keep warm, in a stainless steel thermos style, in these lunch kits that come with their own carrying system. Those are amazing. Just go online, stainless steel lunch for kids, and you'll get all kinds of great things. Look for things on ewg.org and go from there. For packing lunches, what about supplements to bridge the gaps for our kids? So many of us, answer the question. Do you eat 5 servings of fruit and 5 servings of vegetables a day? And is the majority of your nutrition plant-based? If you can't answer that yes for you, then you probably can't answer it yes for your children. And that means that that's why supplements are required to bridge the nutritional gaps and make sure, and these bundles are there. You get 10% off. If you want to text here, text MaxKids all caps. You get the resources, and then you can utilize that to come in and get 10% off the kids bundle. And it's a great way to make sure that you are making sure your kids have the healthy fat and the vitamin D. Healthy fat for the brain development, anti-inflammatory, looking at vitamin D not only for healthy bones, but right now our immune system, huge part. Making sure that they're getting a little bit of vitamin C would be the only thing I would add more to this would be looking at how are you going to do that for your children as long as their school age gets to be. You do a little weight ratio with younger ones. But if they're, say, 5 years old and up, I'd start with maybe 500 milligrams of vitamin C in the morning and 500 at night. And then seeing how that does with their stomach, make sure it doesn't give us a bellyache or any loose stools. And then go up by a couple of 100 milligrams at both servings until you get that effect, and then back down to that previous method or previous number, so that then you can calibrate it for the 40-pounder or the 100-pounder, depending upon what grade they're in. Again, kids multivitamins, all about what's not in there, bad binders and fillers and things like that. We don't want the toxins in the supplements that our children are more prone to contamination. So yeah, the milestones, again, making sure that we want to feel like our kids are developing properly. And the fact, here's one of the biggest things that we run into, and I don't think it's teens anymore. I would go down to tween at a minimum. And with the amount of phones that are out there and all these kids' hands in elementary school and everything else, I really think that this is a huge issue, especially now with more social isolation, more web time, that there can be more bullying, more stress. I know my kids are more stressed. They're actually thankful that school's going to get started. You know, usually at the end of the summer, they're like, no, I don't want to go back. Well, no, now they're like, I want to see my friends and I want this to be, you know, I don't care. You know, both my kids are like, I don't care if I have to wear a mask or not. I want to go back. And, you know, that's it. It's where they're at. And so we got to meet our kids where they're at, help minimize their stress. You know, I think the TM program, Transcendental Meditation, is huge. And there's a children's program out there. They get a walking meditation. And I believe that, oh man, I cannot remember her name, but you can look for Frances DeBray or Charles DeBray out of Franklin, Tennessee. You can also look for, and I'll remember her name right here in Chattanooga, but also just more prayer time, more spending time with our kids, making sure that we're telling them who they are and what they are, and that they're children of God, they're valuable, and that their worth comes from within and not in the comparison thereof with their friends. And that we try to minimize that stress. And we're all stressed out right now with not knowing what to do and how to do it. And I say that to other people. I know exactly what to do and how I'm navigating my family. And it's by being a Max parent and having Max kids. And that is incorporating the 5 essentials. And this is mindset right here. This is Max mind, in the fact that I know that by keeping my children adjusted, by keeping them with a healthy mindset through thoughts and prayer and through meditation, that they're going to be healthier. We're keeping their nervous system, connecting that brain to the body. We're practicing the nutrition, the exercise, and then minimizing the toxins coming in and maximizing the toxins going out due to the fact that they get out and exercise and sweat every day. 83% of teenagers out there say that they're under stress and that they suffer with battling depression. Sobering statistic, isn't it? What about the fact that most kids, this was absolutely insane, 33% of kids say that they eat fast food at least once a day. I have McDonald's under a glass container in my office. Come by and see it. You can still eat one of the fries. We had a little girl eat one a couple weeks back, and her parents literally almost vomited because it's 4 years old. The fries are 4 years old. They're still under the cake glass tray, and it's still there. The bun's there. It's not rotting. I mean, come on, folks. If there's that much processing and that much preservatives in there, what do you think it's doing to our children? And 33% of kids are, willing to eat that and wear looser clothes. And yet, what's it do then to them? Literally, lifelong habits. I want you to ask yourself if you would like your children's whole body to have the highest amount of probability of functioning close to 100%. Do you want your child to reach their life potential and their health potential? If you answered yes, which I know 99% of you did, and then the other 1% will come along when they regain their sanity, they will, if you answered that yes, then the only way that that can happen is for the nerve system that controls the body to be connected to the body through its maximum neurological integrity so that the life force can flow from the brain to the body. And that only happens when the spine is in its proper alignment. So if your children haven't been checked for subluxation, that's step one is, and you can actually, let's see here, let's see if I can find it. There's the banner that'll tell you how to schedule your children for their checkup. During these webinars, what we do is that no matter what we need to do as far as x-rays and the exam, there's a $60 cap on that. So if you call and schedule your kids for a checkup in the office for back to school and just tell them about the webinar, then it's $60. They get their exam, any necessary x-rays, and it's all capped. And that way they can get the checkup that they need, because that's really what it's about. Are they subluxated or are they not? Is their life force being choked off between their brain and their body? And the only way to know that is to get them checked. And so with that being said, we want to look at the fact that we look at what's the main damages. How do people understand, well, how could my kid be subluxated? How would I know? Well, their possibilities are they're breathing, they're alive, and if they've done anything, even from the birth process, from C-section, forceps, and watching my daughter Eliana, who came out on her own, unassisted. What an amazing process, and how much pressure is going on. And of course, there's a lot of pressure on the neck and on the rest of the spine. Of course, that could cause a bone to shift out of place. Much, God forbid, the pulling on the head and the neck, and that causing damage there. And then what about all the bike wrecks and the learning to walk? I mean, literally, I can't count how many times Macklin fell and still does, literally just navigating the house. And every time he has a major fall, what do? Pick him up, put him on the bed, check his spine, make sure everything's there. Most of the time it is. And it's not subluxated. But if it is, we get it adjusted. He goes on about his way. And of course, that's not feasible for most parents. But the fact is getting your children checked to find out, are there not only any postural deformities going on, but each vertebra being aligned one to the next. Absolutely imperative if we want our children to live to their maximum potential. So again, it's $60 cap for any friend or family member who you want to get checked just because of the webinar. Again, text the office and they'll call you back and get you scheduled. What about making sure that your Max family gets the amount of the fact that the food, the processing, and making sure is plan and safe. I love to add beans and lentils into our meals because it cuts costs, it increases fiber, and it helps our children, again, be regular. One of the things I've run into with kids is man, if they're not drinking enough water, which at least is a half an ounce pound of water per pound of body mass, so divide their weight by 2, they need to be drinking at least that much water a day. I think breastfed babies, you're not introducing that water until later, but yet for children, let's say 1 year and over, half their body weight in ounces, just like you would an adult. And speaking of water, skip the processed food, minimize the lunch meats, add in more vegetables, and do the sneaky chef. Smoothies are a great opportunity. Soups are a great opportunity. And also my kids, well, 2 of them tolerate it and 1 of them loves it. Ugly juice. Literally dump a large amount of fresh berries that are frozen so it stays nice and cold in with Granny Smith apple. Here you go, Tammy. You asked for my ugly juice recipe. So it's a Granny Smith apple minus the core, parsley, just a handful of cilantro, and maybe an inch of ginger. Also some avocado to make it smooth. And like I said, the Granny Smith apple, distilled water. And then you can add in the berries to taste. Also, we add in carrots and celery and oftentimes beets. Make sure our kids are getting enough of iron and different like magnesium and things, and so to build up their blood. And so we put all that in there, blend it up with enough berries to make it taste good. Typically, we'll put in a lime also, and you just vary that sweetness to taste, and that's a great way to get in more vegetables. Great thing for making lunches is the cook and freeze, and great time of year to grow your own garden. But we love to buying stuff in bulk, washing it up on Sunday, packaging it up, and it's we get these containers. They are plastic, but they're made non-BPA plastic, and they hold and will strain water and moisture to the bottom. So it keeps things locked tight in there fresh. All the celery, the carrots, the broccoli, is all cut up and in these containers. And then we can just parcel it out into the kids' lunches, again, in those stainless steel thermos-based systems for your child to carry to lunch. I really love Costco. We're going to do a Costco shop with the doc. And we're going to do a Costco or an Ingles shop with the doc, where we're going to go do the food label reading classes, to which I will have, if you text, let's do that banner right quick, text MaxKids to get the resources from this webinar sent to you in an email form with the links to EWG and all my resources, but also that so that you can sign up for the Shop with the Docs at Costco and at Ingles. Let me turn off this one here. All right. So getting back to trying to figure out these technology and how to make one screen work with the other has been a learning process. Thanks for bearing with me in our first PowerPoint driven webinar. What are the main action steps that somebody needs to take to make sure that their kids are going to be healthy? Number one, share this webinar with your friends and family, because if they can text us on the banner, they have plenty of opportunities, then we'll forward them those resources that allow them to not only get the supplements that they need at a 10% discount, also to get their lowered first appointments, but also to get into these this environment of health and healing and raising our kids, not from a we're going to get by, not that we're just going to make it through this school year, not that it's going to be weird and stressful and we're all, because granted, it's going to have all those, but our mindset determines our actions, and our actions determine our outcomes. And if we want the best outcomes for our kids, and we understand that 35% are considered overweight, with 25% being considered obese, and that then predisposes them to cancer and diabetes and heart disease, and we see all these things, then we've got to take the action steps. And that is number one, schedule your family appointment for your chiropractic checkup. Number 2, share this with your friends and family. Let's start creating an environment of hope and healing, and the fact that we believe more in the power of our body to heal itself, and that nothing from outside of us can affect us as much as what we have going on inside of us. If I am building myself up and I'm building my children up, then I am empowering them to change their selves to suit this environment instead of trying to change the environment to suit my children. And so instead of using toxic cleaners and all this other stuff, what I'm doing is focusing on the long term, building my children's immune systems through a properly functioning nerve system. So again, that's, let's tap on that banner that'll allow you to schedule you and your family. $60 for the exam, x-rays, anything we need to do on that first visit is included in that $60 charge. This is what you need to do to get the resources sent to you. Text that in caps, just like that, and our system will email you everything you need to do to be able to go to the different resources, the sites. Step 2, make sure that you're not empowering your children with bad habits like poor backpack use. In that resources being texted, or I should say emailed to you, is the backpack safety link. My video on how to size a backpack, wear a backpack, and how to load it, and taking time to do this with your children builds them the knowledge. Remember, we're teaching them how to fish. We're not giving them a fish. And so that's what we want to make sure and do there. Next step is to get scheduled for your shop with the doc so that you can get your food label reading a tour going on. We're going to have 2 opportunities with that. Wait, I skipped one. We're going to do Ingles and Costco, and I apologize, I did not update this slide with the dates and times. So again, you can text the office to that number and she will shoot you those, and also the sign-up sheets are on the front desk. Stay connected. Right now with this, everyone is socially distanced and masked when they are, and thank God, thank you, Governor Kemp, for protecting our freedoms to have a choice in avoiding the mandated masks. I think that everyone should have a choice to wear them, and if you feel so empowered, to use them, and use them in the situations when necessary. But I really want to just say, I'm so thankful that it's not mandated in the state of Georgia, that they have to be used, and we still have our liberty and freedom to make our own health choices based on the research that we're finding versus research of benefit to harm. So again, get connected, maxliving.com, choosehealthchiropractic.com. Go to loveewg.org, and I really think that our new websites, again, choosehealthchiropractic.com, is an amazing site, and we just rolled out some new things. Our sites are the only place where you can literally go and get research-based perspectives on the supplement. So you want to learn what thyroid support from us, what it has in it, what it doesn't have in it, and how it compares to the other things out there on the market. You want to find out what our kids' supplements have in them and what they don't have in them, and get the 10% off when you order through us, we'll ship it to you. Then go to our website and read those perspectives on the resources, on the nutraceuticals, the supplements. Man, it's a great addition to our website. I'm so thankful to have that out there. And now you can experience getting to literally know what's in there, what's not in there, and then do the research yourselves. I really want to thank you for tuning in. I think that next thing that we would, so I'm going to jump back here to action steps. Bam. The next action step would be scheduling family play. making sure that your kids are getting at least 3 hours of playtime every day, whether it's back in school and they're doing an hour at gym, 30 minutes of recess. So they got an hour and a half that they got to get active play out there. One of the things I always like to mention to children or to parents is that 80% of blood sugar is consumed through skeletal muscle. So if those little bodies aren't moving, then 80% of the blood sugar is not going to get burned up. And that's going to put a higher demand on the pancreas at an early age to produce more insulin to force that sugar into the cells. That's going to increase their risk of metabolic syndrome, which is going to increase their risk of diabetes, which is going to increase their risk of cancer, heart disease, obesity, everything. That makes sense, right? And so get out there, plan your food, take those steps, plan the exercise on a daily basis. I've been getting a bike riding with my kids. Great new thing. Find used bikes. If you need help, you can text me at the office right here. There's my number. Text it to me. Hey, need help finding used bikes? And we'll try to get you and your kids some bikes out there to get out. That's socially distanced. You can do that and get out and move around. Been using the trails. Again, talk to you about those trail systems and places to go. But you got to get the exercise, folks. Then it would be about minimizing the toxins that are coming in. And that is the toxic thoughts and the toxic mindset first. So many people are feeling defeated and separated and not connected with their friends and family. So if you're going to use screen time, use that screen time to FaceTime with people that you know and love. Get your kids in a bundle and sit down on the couch and laugh and tell jokes and do what you can to get connected and stay connected. Plan outdoor events that you can have play and get the kids involved and make that outdoor play a mindset building, love building opportunity. I think that we can't focus enough on that right now. Also, the next mindset piece would be that what's going on inside of you and inside of your children is more important than this virus or what's going on in the world. It's always more important to control your internal environment. And, we've seen that kids very low on susceptibility and transmission, and the buck stops with them. Even if they do contract it, they're not good passers or vectors, and so they're not going to pass it on well. And so what we want to do is the difference is that we focus on our kids and making sure that they're as built up as possible so they have the best outcomes, not only for them, but for the family, and that we're focusing on minimizing those comorbidities that predispose people to have worse outcomes from infections. And then that mindset that, we were created to be healthy and happy and whole, and that it's possible if we follow the rules that govern our natural bodies. And that that is that better nutrition, better mindset, better exercise, minimizing the toxins always helps out. It's never going to go wrong. Better lifestyle is never going to go wrong. That's something you can count on. So many people are looking for things. I hear it all the time from my patients. Doc, just tell me what I know that I can do that will work. Okay. Laugh more, tell jokes, pray more, meditate more, love more. Keep your adjustment schedule. In fact, schedule extra adjustments and get your friends and family checked so that they're healthy enough to stay connected on their inside, right? We're connecting our minds. We have to connect the mind to the body. And if that doesn't happen through a properly functioning nervous system, nothing else works, not even the immune system. So get your friends and family checked. Number two, like when we go down this hierarchy, the 5 essentials, remember, no matter what, you can count on 100% that eating more fruits and vegetables that are low glycemic index and that are organic or just, raised well in your own garden and all of that this time of year, that's always going to give you a better immune system. It's going to work 100% of the time for everyone. And then more exercise with getting out there and sweating during this exercise minimizes toxins. The third largest detoxer in the human body is the skin. So if you're not sweating, then you're bottling up the toxins. And so get your kids outside for that oxygenation, that improved cardiovascular function. It's gonna work every time. Minimizing the amount of stuff that comes into the body, it's gonna work 100% of the time. So those are things that you can count on. There's no questions, there's no concerns, and there's no debate. A healthier lifestyle helps with everything. And so take those action steps to implement the 5 essentials. One of the biggest things about action steps is to not get overwhelmed. I think that the last thing that I would mention is that something is better than nothing. And so if it's just a little extra play, better lunch packing, that's going to help your kids. If it's, you know what, okay, that's even too much. Wait, then it's implementing the supplements. The MaxKids bundle, the fact that there's a multivitamin, there's the omega and the D put in there. There's the detox. So let's say your children have some allergy issues and some digestion issues, then you're going to want to put in those prebiotics, and then you're going to use the detox powder at night. And then just implementing those. I mean, that is, you get that stuff. It takes maybe 30 seconds each time to implement those. Kid's going to be better. You know, these are the action steps that I know for a fact 100% of the time every child would be better subluxation free, misalignment free in their spine and nervous system for the rest of their lives. And so that is 100% guaranteed. And so it's always going to help them reach their potential and go back to school with better lifestyle. What about backpack safety? Go to the YouTube video, Dr. Chad McDill, and then backpack safety, and watch it. Or again, last little tidbit here, text this, and the resources will be sent to you. So if you just text that number, MaxKids, then the connection to that video. One of the things I didn't mention is that inside of these resources is going to be a food planning guide, and also you can make copies of the monthly planner of what you're going to eat and what you're going to put in your kids' lunch so that they can help plan it week to week. And you can see the variety and you get them involved in that. And then they're going to be more likely to not trade their lunch for the fruit roll-up, gummy bear, snickerdoodle, fried moon pie, or whatever they're going to be serving in the processed packaged habuminigan. Is everybody is going in that direction. And so we have to be the sanity for our community. We have to be the love, the connection, and the so that, you know, we can create what we want. And if what you want is a healthier, happier family, then implementing the 5 essentials through getting involved in an office, in a community that's our focus, is the only way that that's going to happen. So I really encourage you, with you and your family and your friends, to spread this webinar around and to schedule their office visits, because those that we all know, the people you hang out with are the people you become. We tell our kids that today. It's like, hey, you know, if those kids are getting into trouble and you're always hanging out with them, then you're going to become like the people you hang out with. Well, we as adults do the same. So if all you're focused on is the negative, then that's what you're going to get. And if all you're focused on is the positive, then that's what you're going to get. It's the, you know, this gravity, you know, that we are what we focus on. And so I hope that this empowers you this evening to take the action steps to have a Max family through the 5 essentials, and just more love, less paperwork, my wife's teaching motto, and literally just get involved. Every little bit helps. And so don't have to do everything. You just need to do something and grow with it. And just allow the fact, I love Tony Robbins' statement that says, we overestimate what we can do in a year, and we underestimate what we can do in a decade. And so we're going to be raising these healthy, happy, wonderful children. And so the more that we get started with and the more we implement that time, it's just like investments. When you put money into an interest-bearing account, it grows over time. When we invest in our children with healthy habits, healthy mindsets, and healthy nutrition, healthy exercise, all of these things, properly functioning nerve systems in their bodies so that they can control and coordinate their bodies, and their neurological development controls their organ development through proper chiropractic care, then you know what? They're going to be healthier, happier, and we're going to set the bar for what we want for our children instead of succumbing to the just getting by. If you want to thrive, then you got to get involved with the movement that's changing that, and that's Max Living, and that's through touching base with that office right there number. You can text to even get scheduled for an appointment, or go to our new website and click on that, and we'll reach back out to you in that link. And you get a free consultation, and then first visits are $60, including any x-rays we need to take for you or anybody that you want get checked who's been involved in this webinar. Lots of love and respect, peace, and look forward to seeing you at the same, next webinar with the same healthy message every time. Be well.